Could the Dragons have done anything different? Yes. They could have not had half their team get suspended at the end of that game. This is Sports Hour. Well, last week was a it was a fun week up until the Dragons game. Let's see if we can get to the thing here. Not that one. The Dragons played their game just like they normally would have done for three quarters. Then, towards the middle of the fourth quarter, they just went crazy and ended up having a bunch of fights, causing them to basically lose almost all their players. And the thing was, this was a team that was actually doing really well. They had like 140 points at this point, and they scored a lot of points towards that first 4 points game. Then, at the very end of that, they allowed, not only were there a lot of penalties, but they allowed the Athens to come back and tie the game at 140 because of all the penalties. Because the way it worked was that the Dragons had 29 penalties shots in that game that the Athens got to take. And the Athens have one of the best point shooters in the end. They had like 29 shots. They made 27 of them, which was enough so they were able to get back into the game and tie it, bringing themselves into overtime. Bad news was they still couldn't do it. The Athens still ended up losing that game in overtime. However, that does change a little bit because a lot of the players were suspended. Now, none of the players were suspended at that point of the game. The team happened, but all these players suspended 5 games, except for 2 of the players. The 2 players that were not suspended for that, there were 2 players. These 2 players here, Terrence Andrew and Andrew Dyer, are suspended for 3 games, but still, that's still a lot of the team. Daniel Washington is now back with the Saints. And the Indians still have a few players suspended, although they are down to 3 games at this point. That being said, this is not going to be a fun week for the Dragons because they've lost half their team. I mean, they have a total of 19 players. Well, they lost 10 of those players. They will not be playing. Luckily, some of their high pick players will probably do well, and they might do well because even after that, they're going to have a decent couple of games. But they got 5 games where they're going to be losing half their players. Really? All right. So now we get to talk about what it is right now. The teams that are currently in the best positions are the Dogs are currently in number 1. I should put the seeds in there. Dogs are the number 1 seed, followed by the Falcons. The Dragons are after that. And then the Giants are down here at number 4. 5, 6, 7, and then 8 as of right now. The Indians are still in the playoffs at this current time, but barely. On this other side, it's not it's just basically the same thing here. Colts are currently the 4th seed. They have 5, they have 6, and then they have 7 and 8. So currently, these 8 teams are currently in the playoffs at this current time. That doesn't mean anything at all because this is still we're not even halfway through the season yet. We're halfway season actually this week. We get to moving on 1 week past that going into this. Currently, the Panthers are still number 1 team in offense. All Dogs are not far behind. And number 1 team in defense is the Werewolves. And the number 2 team in defense is the Lions, surprisingly, even though they are kind of they're not in the best position. They're kind of in the middle. They're barely in the playoffs at this current time. Let's go ahead and look at week 9. This is going to be a tough week. Starting off with Panthers and the Legends. I just don't think this is going to be a fun game. I think the Panthers are easily going to win this game because the context is the Legends just aren't good. They got demolished in their games. You're looking at the Legends. Legends played on sand. They were absolutely demolished. You notice that the one thing that the Legends didn't score a single point during that game. 117-0. Now, they did have 16 shots that went in, but all of them were called back because of penalties. So in context, it was really 116 to 40 something, but 40 something. But unfortunately, that doesn't mean anything if these penalties get called back. So Panthers will win this game. Going on with the Dogs and Knights, this is going to be a tough one. It could easily have been the game of the week. It's not going to be the game of the week for some reasons. I like the Dogs here because the context is I think the Knights are going somewhere strong, but this is not going to be an easy game. I am going to give the Dogs the win here. I think it's going to be a very close game, and also Dogs by 9 seems pretty reasonable to me. Pirates and Bears, this is not going to be a fun game. It's just going to be sad. But I'm going to give the Bears a win. I'm going to give the Bears the win. I know that seems a little bit strange, but if I'm the only one who goes past through them, then that's fine. I think that this is going to be a game where the Bears are going to be better than the Pirates. It's going to be a close game, though. Yeah. It's going to be a close game in that one. Jets and Kings should have been a close game. And also, it could go either way. I'm giving the Jets the win here but it's not going to be an easy. I'm going to say it's going to be a tough one. On Monday, we have the Ravens and the Foxes. Ravens, as of last week, got barely beaten by the Techs, so that wasn't really that much of a game. And then Foxes got barely beaten by UNC. Both these teams were pretty good. Now, UNC was supposed to be really good in going into the season. They're not as good as I thought they would be. I'm going to give the Ravens the win here. I think it's going to be a tough match, and I could easily see this going either way. I'm going to go with the Foxes losing against the Ravens. It's going to be a very close game, though. Lightning and Leon the Cats, this game's not going to be close. Cats will absolutely demolish them. There's just no chance that the Cats don't win this game. Angels and the Lynx, both teams 3-5 at this point. Well, Angels play against a tough team, Warriors, and they actually didn't do terribly. They didn't win, but they didn't do terribly. Versus you had the Lynx, who won their game against Pirates. Now, that wasn't very impressive. The Lynx actually looks pretty good, but when it comes to it, I'm going to give the Lynx the win here. I think it is going to be a tough game, though. R's and Warriors. Everyone picked the Warriors, and I'm going to have to go with them here. For the Warriors, I think the R's actually have a really good chance of winning this game, but it comes to the fact that I think the Warriors are just slightly better when it comes to it. We have the Stars and Huskies. I think that's a divisional game. I'm not 100% sure about that. But the Stars absolutely demolished the Legends last week. I think we're looking at week 3. No, not week 3. Week 4, they played the Panthers. When they beat the Panthers, they played the Jets. They played the Huskies. Yes, this will be a divisional game. They beat the Huskies, but it was in overtime last time. So, to me, this is going to be a tough one. I can see the Huskies coming back and winning this game. But to be confident here, I'm going to say it's going to be the Stars. And this is not the game of the week either, because it is a close one, but it's not quite. I think the Huskies will put up a good fight here, and it will probably go to overtime just like that one. This could easily be a tie coming out to that point. Supermen Hawks, yeah, give me the Hawks. The Hawks are just, the Supermen are just not good. They can't seem to get anything going. Give me the, I don't think the Supermen are able to do anything here. Falcons versus the Saints, give me the, I will say that's tough for me because the Falcons and the Saints are actually not that bad of a team. They're not bad teams. Now, looking at the Falcons, though, Falcons and Saints are in the same division, aren't they? They are in the same division. Falcons have had one loss. And I don't know, who did they lose against? Because they were undefeated up until, I think it was like week 7 they lost. Okay, they lost against the Warriors. So that's not impressive. Looking at the context here, this could go either way. But I think the Falcons are going to easily come out to it in the end. Indians and Dragons. Okay, both these teams have injuries. And this is not going to be a fun game. They all picked the Dragons, but to me, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Because the Dragons have so many players out. I mean, looking at the roster here, Dragons have half their team suspended and won't be playing for weeks. The Indians do have a few people as well, but they only have 3 people, even though they're not somewhat their best players. I don't know that I can give the. I'm going to give the Indians the win here because the Dragons, even though they're favored by 25 points and are in a much better position, I think the Indians have a good chance of winning this game, which will put the Indians in another win, and that would be a really good matchup for this one. This is, again, not the game of the week, but it is a very close game. Packers and Lions. This is not going to be fun. I think this game could go either way just because of the context of both these teams. This is a divisional game. We have the Packers and the Lions. They're actually not both pretty good in the context here, but they're both I think it's going to come into the defense to win this game. And I think the Lions are just a whole lot better when it comes to that, so I'm going to give the Lions the win here. Werewolves and Athen. Give me the Werewolves. I don't think there's a chance that Athen can come back. They got lucky, and they got lucky this last week because of the way that the Dragons all messed up. I don't think they're going to be able to do that against the Werewolves. All right, the Dolphins and the Colts. Divisional game. I'm giving the Colts the win. I just don't see much of the Dolphins being able to come back and win this game. Tigers and Giants is the game of the week. And honestly, it's a really good matchup between these two teams. Both these teams I think these teams have played. Let's see. We're going to get the Tigers. I think the Tigers and Giants have played. I think they have played. Let's see. I don't know what week they played, but they played. I would assume they have played. No, they haven't played. Okay, maybe they haven't played. This is a divisional game, though. Be the first of those divisional games. And to be honest, this is going to be a tough game between these two teams. It's not a divisional game. They're in a completely different conferences. Tigers. Oh no, they're here. Tigers and Giants. This could be honestly playing for the division. This is going to be a tough one. Now, the only reason that the Tigers... Now, I don't know why the Tigers aren't ahead of them right now. Oh, it's because of the negative points. But the basics here is that I think this is going to be a win for the Tigers. While I do think this is going to be a very tough game, the Giants have lost against a few pretty sad teams, and they're going to win. I think the Tigers will win this game. Chargers and Beagles. It's going to be tossed up really who wins this game. I'm going to go with the Beagles. Tex and UNC. I'm going to go with UNC here. I think while the Tex, they've struggled over the last couple weeks, and I'm going to say the Tex are going to win this game. The Bulldogs and the Browns. I don't even know what to say here. I'm going to give the Browns the win. I don't really know what to say about those two teams because they're both really good teams, and this game could go either way. And finally, the Bobcats and the Cardinals on 11 o'clock on Monday. It's a close game. They've been out points. Bobcats win. Now, one thing I should mention, I didn't mention this before because it wasn't really relevant. Looking at this here, we have time. There's something we have called the NBL World Playoffs, or be the division conferences is all over the United States. There's 4 different conferences, and they battle just like March Madness, basically. And this is how March Madness will work for this one. Basketball Bowl winner, Ball Bowl winner, and then whoever has the highest seed or highest remaining seed, seed 1, and then whoever has the seed 1 for each of the ABL and NBL, and it's or the highest remaining defense and the highest remaining offense gets these seeds, and then we have the best record for the NBL, best record for the ABL, and for the best records. That is something coming up. I'll talk about more as we move on. We get closer to it. We got 6 weeks to go before we get to that point. I think it's 8 weeks actually for that point. That's all for this episode of Sports Hour. I'll see you guys in the next episode. And we'll see you back here for week 10.